Most eyes will be focused on Baton Rouge on Saturday night, the big Florida and LSU game. But there is another #1 team in action this weekend. FCS #1 Richmond puts its 13-game winning streak on the line when it faces rival James Madison. That's on Saturday. They have a score to settle, too. In addition to coaching his top-ranked Spiders, Richmond head coach Mike London has led a remarkable life, from having a gun pointed at his head while he was a police detective to becoming a bone marrow donor for his daughter. And we welcome Richmond head football coach Mike London to ESPN First Take. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. The national championship last season went to you guys, but in the regular season, you lost to James Madison on a last-second punt return. How excited are you guys to go out and get a little revenge for what happened last year?
Well, you know, I don't know if it's as much as getting revenge, but it's an opportunity to play a really good team again. James Madison has always been a perennial power in the FCS football, and, you know, that's what we want to be, and that's what we strive to be. So it's at their place. It's sold out. It's on TV. So we're sure it's going to be an exciting atmosphere, and we're looking forward to have a chance to go up there and play them. Should
be a good football game to watch. Good luck to you Saturday. I mentioned in the lead that you've led a very interesting life. I talked about you had a brush with death as a Richmond police officer back in the 80s. Tell us what happened.
Well, you know, the short of it was, you know, being a police detective, you know, answering a robbery call that myself and a partner had to pull a van over, and, you know, some youngsters were inside the van, and an attempt to try to pull the driver out of the driver's seat, you know, forgetting about all the things that could happen. I had a gun pointed at my face, and it went off, and you hear the click, and it, you know, and thankfully that it didn't go off, and we'd be talking about a traffic situation. But it's just one of those things that, you know, your adrenaline is pumping, you're doing your job. You know, the Richmond PD has been a very good place for me. I got a lot of friends still there, and the gun didn't go off. And later on, we caught the young men, and, you know, and took them to trial and things like that. So it's been, you know, you feel blessed. You feel very blessed to be here and have opportunities to share life experiences, as you alluded to earlier with this experience, but also with my daughter Tyson.
Well, I imagine the sound, the click that the gun made when it didn't go off is probably a sound you'll never forget. How did that lead you to coaching?
Well, that got me out of coaching real quick, you know, because it had to be something better, I thought. And, you know, I had always wanted to be a coach if you know, the law enforcement aspects didn't work out. And luckily, one of the coaches, who was an assistant coach at Richmond at the time, was there when I was a police officer in Richmond, and said, hey, look, you want to coach? And I said, absolutely. So I got into coaching that way, and I've been doing it for a long time now, and I love it. I have a passion and energy for it. And again, I feel tremendously honored and blessed to be the head coach of my alma mater.
I mentioned the bone marrow transplant that saved your daughter's life. How has that impacted you both in football and in life?
Well, you know, one of the things we talk about at Richmond is treating people with dignity and respect, about, you know, making sure that you have a relationship with your family, because you just never know when the opportunities that present itself that you'll lose a loved one, or in my case had a chance to save a loved one's life. So, you know, family is important. Doing things the right way is important. You can love people, you can tough love them, but you always got to show people how you feel about them, because in the end, that's all that matters.
Well, as you go through the list of things in your life, it sounds like a movie. So I'm wondering who plays Mike London in this full feature film?
Oh, yeah. That's a loaded question. My wife probably would like Denzel. I would say maybe Samuel, you know, and then there's a little bit of Dirty Harry, you know, Do You Feel Lucky, you know, so probably all three if you can wind up into one person.
Well, if they were ever to make a movie of my life, I think my wife would want Denzel to play me as well. That's a good choice. I see a little Wayne Brady, though. I see a little bit of comparison there, a little similarity. Maybe Wayne could pull it off.
I don't know. Maybe he could. Maybe he could.
You're on the Black Coaches Association short list of coaching candidates for FBS schools. When you look at the lack of black head coaches at that level, how do you explain it, and what are your thoughts on it?
Well, you know, that's a question that I think, you know, that speaks to opportunities, and I know that Dr. Ayers and Jim Miller took a chance on me, and you know, looked at the accomplishments of places that I've been, And you know, the big thing is, you know, can someone come in and represent a university, a community, because you're the CEO of an entire, you know, athletic organization and the community you represent. And I just think that the opportunities that, as long as they're afforded to good coaching candidates, even regardless of color, you know, can make for good coaches. And hopefully, you know, I'm doing a good enough job that can reflect well on other coaches that might have an opportunity, other coaches that trailblazed before me. And I just want to do my part to make sure that, you know, there's some young coaches that are out there that are looking for a chance. And if I do well, then there's an opportunity for them to do well.
That's a great way of looking at it. And, Coach, keep doing what you're doing because it is definitely working and paying off. Thanks so much for joining us. Good luck this weekend and the rest of the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Dana?